Okay.
All right, good afternoon, guys. This is David Huffman with NEDCO Incorporated. Today I'm going to show you exactly how to swap out your main drive belt for a 2000S machine. Stick with me. All right, guys, first things first, what we're going to do is we're going to focus on the main drive roller, which is right here where the main drive belt meets my second fold assembly. So what I want you to do, guys, is go ahead and take a 1/2 inch socket or open face wrench, and we're going to go ahead and loosen up both bolts on both bearings of my main drive. The main drive has the chain attached, as you can see. So we'll take our 1/2 inch here, and we're just going to loosen these up just enough to where I get a little movement. See, now I got free flow here just a little bit. Perfect. So we got to do the same here. Okay, now that that's done, I'm going to go to the side of the machine where the chain is located. We're going to follow this main cross member here all the way back to on the frame. Now here's what you'll need, guys. This is our tensioner, and this has a bolt that runs to a rod which runs all the way up here to my my main drive roller bearing. And what this does is it allows me to turn and put tension on that belt. I'm allowed to pull that belt or push that belt forward to add or remove tension. So in this position, what we're going to do is I'm going to take a 3/4 inch open face wrench and any kind of crescent wrench or 2 3/4, whatever you got. And what we're going to do is we're going to take, in this case, I'm going to hold the back bolt here, the rear side of the bolt, and then I have my jam nut, as you can see. Now what I'm going to do is just loosen this jam nut up. See how I got it loose? I spun it back. Now what I can do is move this whole thing. And Jason, if you can see what I'm doing up here, now you see I've got this whole piece moving, right? That's what I want to do. I've taken all the tension off of this main belt, right? So that's what we've done. Now that I've done that here, I'm finished with the main drive belt. I will work my way forward. So the next point of action, just for this video, I don't have it in here, but you will have a weight tray, right? You'll have a weight tray that spans from backside of the belt all the way to the front, and this piece right here, there's a member that crosses over. Now that is the next thing we're going to remove. That being said, there are 2 belts under these. They are 7/16, so we're going to take our 7/16 open face wrench. I've got a bolt here we'll loosen up, and a bolt on the other side will loosen up here. And then what this does is now you can see this whole piece can slide out, right? So now what I've done is I've removed my weight tray, and this whole piece will slide out. Now once again, I'm missing the weight tray. You'll have chains attached from these 2 poles to a weight tray that'll span all the way down. Now I can get you a weight tray. What it'll look like, it'll be just like this. You'll have weights 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 going down. So you'll remove this whole piece and we'll set it aside. That's all we need to do. Keep it as one big assembly. All right, moving on. Now that we've loosened the rear main drive belt roller, we've removed our weight tray that goes the entire way of our main drive belt. Now I can focus on my idler roller. All right, as you can see, I'll take my 1/4 inch wrench here. Go ahead and shove that in. Another thing I want to do is go ahead and loosen this collar. There's a lock collar right here. We'll go ahead and loosen that up and slide it out of the way. See how there, we got that out of the way. Now this allows me to pull this whole assembly out. So now what I'll do, as you see, I've got my key in here. I'm going to take my 9/16. There is a nut on the inside of this frame, so I'll take my 9/16, lock that thing on there. We're just going to give it a spin. Right? Let's do this right here. All right, there's that. And I will pull this piece out. Now my nuts, I have a washer on the inside, a lock washer on the inside, as well as this nut, all on the inside of that frame. Make sure we hold those. If they fall inside the frame, not a big deal. We'll just pull them out, dig them out. A long screwdriver, a magnet, anything will work. Now also, when I pull this piece out, there will be a thin washer between the frame and this bolt right here. See, there will be a thin washer which is on the back side of this here, as you can see, thin washer, right? goes between this piece and the frame. Make sure we hold on to that. So, once again, when we pull this out, I've got a thin washer, I've got a thick washer, a lock washer, and a nut. Keep those together. We have to have them. All right, so I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side that I just did here. Now what that allows me to do is take this piece out, remove it. Now I can slide the whole roller out, right? We've got the roller out. Okay, so at this point, I've got my idler roller out, I've got my drive roller loosened. Now the fun begins. So we're gonna go back to the drive roller in order to take this belt off. So, back to the drive roller. Guys, I like working on this part away from the chain. I don't want to have to loosen, do anything special with the chains. I'm just going to leave it alone. I'm going to work on this side of the machine, furthest away from my chain. You'll see exactly why. So that being said, what I'm going to do, the first things first, is I'm going to remove one bolt out of my drive roller, what's it called? Bearing, out of my drive roller bearing. I pull that nut out. Now, Jason, if you can come get a close up. We really need to get this step here. So you can see I pulled the bolt out here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up on that bearing and expose where this goes, right? So I'm going to go ahead and put that right back where it came from. And the reason I do that is on this next step. This allows me to keep control of the shaft that I told you that runs through this entire thing back to the tensioner rod we spoke of earlier. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the other nut or bolt out of the bearing. So now I've got the whole bearing completely out. Now here's why I work away from the chain. See, I don't have to move. I can pivot this whole thing and I don't have to worry about the chain. Also, I can slide my belt right over. And off it comes. Right, so now we've completely removed the old belt and we're gonna work backwards to install the new one. So, now here we are. New belt. First things first, let's lay it across the machine, guys, just like so, front to back. We've obviously working on the same side as we did removing the belt, which is the drive roller away from the chains. First things first, before I go anywhere, I'm gonna go ahead and slide this belt through my roller. Or the roller through the belt, I should say. And guys, a little secret here, keep a rag on you. The reason I say that, because these shafts, these bearings get really greasy, and you don't want to put your grease all over a brand new belt, which will transfer all to those brand new pretty shirts. We don't want that to happen. So keep a rag on you, keep your hands clean, easy peasy. All right, now that I've put my belt on my main drive roller, let's go ahead and reassemble from here back. All right, so now I've got the bolt, we removed two of them. One, as you can see, still in here, right? Now this is the important part. Guys, we've loosened our bearing, obviously, so I can slide this back and forth. That's a must. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start by putting this back in first. Now see, I grab hold of this bolt, the one I left in there, and I've got complete control over that. Can you see that moving in there, Jason? Mm-hmm. All right, good. So I've got complete control over this. That's what I need. So what I'm going to do is line this up. I'm going to grab hold of this other tank here, this other bolt here. Now this, guys, this is very finicky. It might take you a couple shots to do this. This is the hardest part, getting in. This way. Oh yeah. Got her. All right, so I got that one in. Now I simply will remove this next bolt and put it right back in its place through the bearing. Once again, this might take you a few times to find the threads, find the hole, get it lined up properly, but make sure you can hand tighten these. Do not torque these things down and strip this out. This is very dangerous. Not good. All right, now that I've got that done, I still have them loose enough to where I can slide my shaft up and down, which is exactly what I want on both sides. So now I'm done here on the main drive. We'll work our way up. So that being said, before I go any further, we're going to work our way up, guys. Remember, we have a weight tray that has to go in here, which will be this long piece with a bunch of weights attached. You'll see. I don't have one built for the video, but for video's sake, you would slide this piece in like so. It would sit just like that. And then we have the other piece of this assembly, which chains will be hanging, which attaches to these right here. So in theory, we slide this through the belt and then back on my mounting studs here. We're going to make sure we move the locking washer and the washer out of the way, so that way they're doing their job correctly. Boom, there it is. Now I've got my weight tray installed properly. I'll go ahead and torque these bolts back down 9/16. Let's go ahead and do that here. Now while I'm doing this, guys, I am pushing down on this whole assembly, making sure this thing doesn't come out and pop out. That'll be the worst thing ever. We'll have all sorts of problems. We'll lose a lot of traction. You won't be folding your shirts right. So I'm pushing down as I'm tightening this. All right, we'll do both sides here. And I want to make sure this bar, guys, is nice and level up top. I want to make sure going across it sits flat. It's not mounted one way like this or the other way like that. So we'll go ahead and tighten that down. Slide our little sleeves under the tuckers where they go. Moving forward. Now we're back to our idler roller. This is the fun part, guys. Once again, I've loosened the lock collar. As you can see, this helps me mount this whole thing. So first things first, what I want to do on this part, this is the locked lock collar, this is the loose lock collar. So the one that's locked is where I'm going to start. What I'm going to go ahead and do is slide that into position. Next thing I'll do is I'll take all our bolts, all our washers. Now this is very important, guys, right here. So remember, I've got a thin and a thick washer. The first thing I'm going to take is the thin washer. A little bitty old thing. Get real close and see if you can tell the difference. You can see the difference right there, guys. Thin and thick. Can you tell?
Yeah.
Bingo. So we're going to keep the thin washer. So then what I'm going to do, I'll take this nut here, or bolt here. We're going to slide it through the hole. Thin washer goes on the back side of that, guys, right there. So, close up. Beautiful. Beautiful. All right, so then what I do is I put this in this slot. You've got a slot on both sides of the machine. So then what we'll do is we'll slide our idler roller through the belt. Be sure you put it through the belt. I do this every daggum time usually, and I'll wind up taking this whole thing back because I mount the whole thing without the belt on it. So that being said, we'll go ahead and get this sucker mounted properly. Now guys, once again, this takes a little bit of patience. It can be a little finicky at sometimes, but just take your time, work through it, and you will make it happen. All right, now that I've got this in here, I'm going to take my thick washer and the lock washer and the remaining nut. We'll go ahead and do this one at a time. What I do, guys, is I put my finger here and I pull this all the way forward on this slide. I'll pull that thing as far forward as I can so I don't have to shove my hand further back in this machine. So that being said, thick washer first. Okay, there. All right, now my lock washer. Slide it in. Now my nut. Last but not least. Now guys, the easiest thing to do, what I do is I hold it just like this in my fingers. Then I shove my fingers down in here until I feel that bolt head. Then I'll slide this out of the way, holding it just like this is the bolt, right? And then once I get it locked on the bolt, I hand spin the bolt from the outside. You'll see how that works. Ready? All right, now I got it on there. See, now I'm tightening it down just like this with my hand. All right, done. Let's leave it alone. I can still work. We're going to do the exact same thing, but on the opposite side with the lock collar that is loosened. All right, guys, same thing again. This one's just going to be a little more difficult. I want to point something out real quick. You can see how on this pivot block, there's a little recess here on this side. The recess needs to stick out of the frame. So for instance, recess away from the frame. Cool? I'm going to show you again. Make sure the recess is facing away from the inside of the frame. Cool? All right, moving on. So here's where it gets fun, guys. What I like to do is I pull my shaft out and I go ahead and get that sucker on there. And so see how you can see I'm pivoting now. So Once I do that, we're going to do the same thing. Same order. We're going to do our bolt, and then we're going to do our thin washer between the pivot block and the frame. All right. That being said, slide that in that slot. Money, money, money. All right, once again, same order. Thick washer, lock washer, then nut. So once again, I'm gonna pull this all the way forward up that slot to give me the most easy access. Slide the thick washer, lock washer, and last but not least again, the nut. All right, get that in there. Come on. There it goes. All right, guys, from here, now all I gotta do is slide this back. We've got 2 bolts here, and what that does is it allows us to pivot up and down for the feed table. We'll get to that later. All you need to know is that these slots, once you're mounted, you want to set your block underneath, as you can see how this is. Right, so then once I'm ready, I can screw this down and adjust the height. Cool. All right, now that's being said, I'm good to go. The first thing what I want to do, this is the most important part, guys, before I do anything, I'm going to make sure, now if you did it this exact way, you only loosened one lock collar, you did not loosen these, you'll never have a problem. I need to double check center of roller to center of my frame. It's super easy. You just take it before, if you want to mark it before, Sharpie. And what I'll do is I'll measure this out so it's 9, so we're looking at 4.5, bam. So I'll mark my center roller, then I'll go from inside a frame to that mark. 16th shy. 16th, we're right dead center, perfect. All right, so now that I've verified my center of roller to center of machine, now I can pull everything back. We'll go ahead and tighten everything down. What that means is I'll pull my lock collar all the way back up against this, and we're gonna lock her down. Now guys, I will always put more Loctite on here. Always, but for the sake of the video, I've still got a lot to do. I'm gonna have to redo this. That's why I'm not putting Loctite yet. Anyways, Loctite is your best friend. Moving forward, we'll go ahead and make sure all this gets tightened down. Just put that back there. Once again, 9/16 open wrench, and I believe it's a 1/4 inch key, I believe. Alright guys, this you can go ahead and torque down pretty good. Just give it a good cinch in there, both sides. Before you're done and move forward, I'm going to make sure I don't, if I've over tightened these, I have to make sure this pivots. So if I over tighten it, it's not going to pivot. So here's the spot where I want to make sure this pivots. We're good to go. All right, so next you'll have 2 springs that you've taken off right here. We'll put those back on. They go from right here to the top of this little guy right here. So you'll put the spring back. Once again, for the sake of video, I've got to take all this apart. I'm not even going to do it, but we'll put the spring right back here. And then basically we're done here. All I've got to do now is tighten the belt back up, get the right amount of tension. Once I get tension on it, we'll cut the machine on and we'll track it. That part is super easy, and we'll have another video for that.